And welcome to Hysteria, the show for people who usually ended up just doing most of the group project themselves. Hosted by two people who did end up doing
100%.
Where we see you, we understand you,
we are
here for you. We are you, we here for you. So before we get into the news, oh my gosh, Alyssa.
Yes.
250 episodes.
Are we in love? Does this mean we're officially in love? We've made it 250 episodes.
So I think we're common law married at this point.
Yes.
If you do 250 episodes of a podcast with somebody. Although I was on maternity leave for a bit and we haven't, been here.
I didn't cheat.
But this is our daughter. This is our daughter, Hysteria.
This is our daughter. She's still here.
Our beautiful daughter, Hysteria, is 250 years old. And so we wanted to answer some of your listener questions. We are going to be sprinkling the questions throughout the episode. So if you want to know if we chose yours, you got to listen till the end. Okay, first question. I will read this.
Okay.
If we were to add a third to our ride or die duo, who would it be?
Well, who would it be? I feel like it would either have to be our producer, Caroline, or J. Smith Cameron.
You know what? That's really fun. That was going to be my answer, too. Oh! I feel like Caroline has been with the show almost as long as the show has existed.
Yeah.
And we've all kind of grown together with the show. And yeah, I think that might be the right answer. I'm trying to think like a fantasy person I've never spoken with who I would want to be a part. I would say, Bernie Sanders would be a fun monkey wrench.
Also weird, Tracee Ellis Ross comes to mind.
Oh, she seems fun.
Yeah, she seems fun.
She seems fun. Okay, cool. Okay, let's get into the news. Abortion. This is a classic Hysteria segue. Speaking of fun, abortion. Okay, on Tuesday evening, the North Carolina legislature banned most abortions after 12 weeks by voting to override the veto of Democratic Governor Roy Cooper and upholding the ban. The ban will take effect July 1st. The Senate voted to override the veto in a 30-20 vote, and the House followed suit with a 72-48 vote. Here's the thing that really, really grinds my gears about this. They did not have a veto-proof majority until one suspicious Democrat switched parties. Alyssa, what do you make of that?
Is Tricia the new Karen? Erin, why is our party plagued with people who keep doing this to us? It's like, wait, to me, she should be recalled. There should be a special election for her seat. The people who voted for her did not vote for this. And I am just, I'm sad, I'm appalled, I'm mad. And I guess just like, why? I mean, she gave this whole sort of like, woe is me speech that the Democratic Party isn't what it used to be, and that's why she's a Republican, except that she gave a speech several years ago about abortion, about her abortion. And I guess, why would you take away from other people what you yourself were entitled to when you needed it? It is so hypocritical and dark and cynical. And yeah.
Speaking of cynical, Tricia Cotham is this Democratic lawmaker's name. She's in a safe Democratic district. Her switching parties was kind of, I would say, no pun intended, but sort of like a miscarriage of the electoral process. They did not vote for a Republican, and I don't think people in her district wanted to vote for abortions to be banned in many cases in North Carolina. Here's something that I want to know. Who has she been meeting with? Who has she been talking to? What was she offered?
What was she offered? That's exactly. But what could it be? Like, what could it be?
I don't know.
She's going to be lieutenant. I mean, like, she can't even, it's not even like she can be lieutenant governor. Governor's a fucking Democrat. Like, what the fuck?
I have no idea. But you know what I want, though? Like, okay, so on Tuesday night in New York City, Harry and Meghan and one of their friends were pursued by like an army of paparazzi on scooters. Okay, unnecessary, unfucking necessary.
Trash, total trash.
They were afraid for their lives. Like I heard that some streets had to be shut down. Alyssa, what happened?
Streets had to be shut down. There were paparazzi on mopeds and scooters on the sidewalk, like bowling pedestrians over like bowling pins, trying to catch up to them. And Erin, here's the question. So overexposed. What are these pictures worth? Who cares? Why are they doing this? It's so insane.
Go to North Carolina and follow Tricia Cotham around.
There's a much better story here.
We should know who she's meeting with. Who's she talking to?
What'd she get?
What did she get? Well, here's what she got. She got an abortion ban for everybody in her state because she's an asshole. I don't want to let every other Republican off the hook here because they are also assholes, but she's a stinging asshole because she's just her switching.
It couldn't have happened without her.
Yeah. At least buy us dinner if you're gonna fuck us, Tricia. All right. What else do we got to talk about? Ooh, what's going on in Philadelphia?
Oh, Erin. Little action in Philly. The primary was yesterday. In Philly's primary for mayor, 3 of the 4 leading candidates for the Democratic nomination were women.
Interesting.
And Sherelle Parker has won the Democratic primary as of this morning. 88% of precincts are reporting she is the nominee. Parker spent 10 years in the Pennsylvania State House of Representatives and then the City Council. If she wins the general election, which most people think she will because Philly is a very Democratic city, she'd be the first female mayor of Philly and would have a critical role in overseeing voting in the largest city in a big-time swing state in 2024.
That is super interesting. Also, greasing the polls in case any Philadelphia sports team win or lose an important game, so that fans cannot climb lampposts. That's a very important role of the Philadelphia mayor is poll grease. Of course, overseeing.
God bless her if she wins. We hope she wins. But Philadelphia is a bit of an embattled city. It has sort of like Chicago vibes right now. The current mayor has said he will be happy when he's done being mayor. So she's inheriting what feels like a bit of a mess. Public safety is a huge issue in Philadelphia. So if she wins, Godspeed, wind at her back.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of cities elect their first female mayors. Right at a time when being a mayor seems like the shittiest job. It's like, let's give women these terrible, 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 very difficult jobs that it's just going to be nonstop stress. But you know what? Seriously, Karen Bass here in LA, we've got Philly, I guess women are willing to do the hard jobs. So that's
New York is getting so bad a woman might have a chance here soon too.
Oh my God. Do you remember that election that Anthony Weiner was in and it just got totally thrown sideways when his problems
situation
came to light? His problems, the troubles. I remember Christine Quinn was supposed to be the first female mayor. Everybody thought Christine Quinn was going to be the first female mayor, and the New York Times had a camera crew following her around. Because they were and then they ended up making this documentary of her losing.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that maybe I should watch it now as an artifact, but at the time, just watching it was just whoa. I don't know, man. I didn't vote for her. Okay. Let's move. What else do we have to talk about?
More fuck around and find out in the Midwest.
Yeah. So in Kansas, there's an interesting kind of back and forth going on between the state's Democratic governor and a Democratic lawmaker who appeared to switch sides and help override a gubernatorial veto. Kansas's Democratic governor vetoed state funding Monday for a project long advocated for by a Democratic lawmaker who broke ranks to override the governor's vetoes and give Republicans crucial support for laws restricting abortion and rolling back trans rights. And the project was a $250,000 amount of money set aside to develop a site in Kansas City that was a significant Underground Railroad site. So there's a lot of back and forth. It's a really complicated discussion because the governor is a white lady, but the veto overrides hurt trans people and hurt abortion access because of this lawmaker breaking ranks with other Democrats. But it's is she getting back at this lawmaker? She says she's not. Alyssa, what do you think is happening?
Okay, let me give you my theory here, Erin, because the governor a smart lady. We are into her. And I think mostly she's just rat fucking him. She will have the project go through, but this has been his like raison d'etre for years, like even before he was an elected official. And so I think she's just not going to let it be his success. Like I think she's still going to, she's talking about how important it is. She's saying there just needs to be a little bit more research, but I think she's just not going to let it be his to claim victory over. She's just like, you can go fuck yourself.
I feel like you've probably had a front row seat to instances where politicians have done some like maneuvering and done things like that. Just have you?
Yeah. Sometimes, look, here's the problem, Erin, is that I was always the person. Barack Obama was actually like a nicer person than I was. There were a lot of people who I wanted to rat fuck. And I'd be like, oh, yeah? Well, here's what we're going to do. And he's like, Alyssa, that's not how you make progress. And I was like, no, it's vendetta with a V. But I think that she is getting him where it hurts. And I think that, he can be as mad as he wants. But I know that the other representatives who support this are really mad. But I personally, not a member of the Kansas legislature or anything, but as a New Yorker, I think it's probably going to pass. And she will make it happen just at a time when he cannot benefit from it at all.
Right. And she vetoed the funding after the state legislature had adjourned for the session. And so there was no way for them to just like override, which kind of makes me think maybe she should have just like done held some vetoes until the very end of the session anyway, and just like been a total rule. I mean, following the letter but not the spirit of the law, which is what Republicans do all the time. And I think maybe we should start doing that too.
I agree.
Okay. Ooh, Alyssa, one more story.
Erin, I love this story. I love this story because you know what? Let me tell a quick personal anecdote. In 2019, I had my first really, really bad hot flash, and it was at a very embarrassing moment. I was at a Netflix For Your Consideration event, and I was interviewing Christina Applegate, icon, Linda Cardellini, icon, Liz Feldman, icon, for their show Dead to Me. And before we went on stage, I started sweating like a fucking stuck pig. And Christina Applegate and Linda turned to me. They're like, are you okay? And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm having a hot flash. This is not flop sweat. I'm having a hot flash. And they were like, you just have to lean into it because the more anxious you get about it, the worse it's going to be. So I went on stage in front of hot lights, and Erin, you've seen the jumpsuit that I wore, my favorite denim jumpsuit, and I had sweat through
oh my God.
denim. There was like a little party afterwards.
That's
I was
like flight suit
out.
grade, Alyssa.
Yes,
that is like,
I know.
You could make motorcycle repairs in that.
And I had to peel. My bra, everything was stuck to me. It was one of the worst feelings I have ever experienced. And I'm telling that story because we have had a bit of a breakthrough for women who are going through or will go through menopause, which is all of us. And it's on the heels of an article written a couple weeks ago, which is based on a Mayo Clinic study that menopause costs American women an estimated $1.8 billion annually in lost working time. This is real. People have not been addressing it for years. We have no Viagra. Well, I mean, we have Viagra. We have nothing that's been able really, aside from hormonal therapy, to help women with some of the symptoms for menopause. Except this week, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration last Friday approved a new type of drug to treat hot flashes and night sweats during menopause, making it easier for women who want to stay in the workforce. The new drug, Veozah, what a name, Veozah, blocks receptors in the brain that play a role in the regulation of body temperature. It's an alternative to traditional hormone replacement therapies to manage hot flashes, one of the most common symptoms of menopause. In the clinical trials, there were 3,000 women included, and the Veozah reduced the number of hot flashes women experienced each week significantly more than the placebo group.
Okay, so, Veozah. Alyssa, could we use Veozah in our game that we made up? Our game,
Veozah.
Car, Drug, or Baby in Utah?
I mean, God bless a little baby named Vioza. Bet she's adorable. Or he's adorable. Gender neutral Vioza.
I think Vioza could also be a car. I think Vioza sounds like it could be a car.
Vioza sounds like a new electric car.
I feel like there are 2 labs in the U.S. at any given time working feverishly, and one of them is a lab to come up with names for drugs that sound vaguely like they could be nice people names. And then another lab is Mormon influencer bloggers feverishly coming up with names that don't exist for their children. And they need to beat the drug people too.
Yeah.
I wondered when COVID was named if there was somewhere a baby named COVID and they had to change.
Probably.
And
they're like, oh no, what are we going to do now?
Yeah. Ooh, Dovid. Let's name him Dovid. Well, that's really great news. I'm glad that people are finally taking the fact that menopause shouldn't be something that people just have to deal with as is with no help or remedy, or only deal with it using hormone therapy. I think I'm glad they're looking into it. I mean, the cynical side of me is they're only really looking into it because they're realizing how much money women of that age would pay to manage
because
their
there are
symptoms.
15 million women ages 45 to 60 in the workforce currently.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny that the wording that was used was for women who want to keep working. It's what people at age 45 are they professional soccer players? Who's retiring at age 45? Firefighters? I think most people who are in the workforce at age 45 are going to stay in for another 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever, however many years. So yeah, I'm glad they're finally taking it seriously.
And let's just hope the insurance companies don't rat fuck us and that it's actually remotely affordable.
I think, you know what, this is going to sound adversarial, but I think that insurance companies should fuck people over more. Instead of just gently fucking us over, they should fuck us over harder. So more people get angrier and are like, no, absolutely not. I mean, all it takes is 1 20-minute argument on the phone with an insurance person who's never examined you, who's telling you you don't need a medicine that your doctor says you need. I feel like it only takes a couple of those before you're burn it down.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I know a lot of people would lose their jobs, but how many times have you had a good experience with an insurance company where you're like, I want all of you to be well paid and have great jobs? No, they can learn to code. Okay, let's move into some more mailbag questions.
Ooh.
You want to pick one you like, Alyssa?
Yeah, let's see here. Margaret from the friend of the pod from Crooked Media's new subscription community asks, what do you think is easier about entering the workforce as a woman today than when you started your careers? What do you think is harder?
That's a great question. I can say, well, I guess I kind of entered the workforce in this weird sideways way.
Yeah.
I did AmeriCorps right after college, which is not technically the workforce. I was living on a stipend. And then after that, I was like, I want to earn money and have insurance. And so I got hired at Merrill Lynch because they were hiring everybody with a pulse who could hold a pencil at the time. And I had a pulse and I could hold a pencil. But I just took that job because I needed insurance and some way to pay my rent. And there was a period of time where I was so poor that I was doing medical trials at the University of Chicago. Yeah. One time I was on a medical trial where they made me take a drug that was used for Parkinson's. The drug maker was being sued. Yes. I can't believe I didn't tell you about my medical test subject days. So what I would do is I'd go in, they would test my urine to make sure I wasn't on drugs or had alcohol in my system. And then they would give me this drug and they would have me watch movies for 2 hours, and then they would come back and have me do these mild gambling exercises. If you guess which one the red dot is under 3 times in a row, you get $1. Or you can, and it was like gambling basically. And then afterwards, they would give me whatever dollars that I earned, and then I got paid for being part of the experiment. The drug was a drug that allegedly made people act compulsively. The drug maker was being sued because people who were taking it were had never gambled in their lives, were suddenly losing their life savings at a slot machine. And so they were testing to see if it increased compulsive behavior.
I can't believe I did not know that story.
Yeah.
And also continues to baffle me that we both worked at Merrill Lynch.
Yeah, that's super weird. It was once I started, it was like, I wasn't like making bank. I was like a support staff person.
Oh yeah, same. I was a senior secretary was my official title.
Nice. Same. Basically, I don't think they use the term secretary when I was there anymore. But it was like a similar deal where I was like, I had all my broker's licenses, but I was supporting a broker. And yeah, it was like easy to enter the workforce because there were a lot of jobs and they wanted to pay people not very much money. And actually, insurance was like cheaper and better back then. And so I actually think that the healthcare that I got for my first real job was like better than the healthcare that I even got through like the WGA in 2018.
I think that's true. My insurance back in the day was much better than it is now.
Yeah, it was just like really, really good, and it's gotten worse. That was a really long-winded answer. I don't know how hard it is to enter the workforce today. I can say entering journalism is really hard today. Entering media is really strange. Back when I even when I was first starting TV writing in like 2017, the first time I sold anything, the pay was better. Like it felt more stable. Like TV shows ran longer. A lot of stuff the WGA is striking about. I witnessed some of that stuff happening, in the industry. Journalism is a little bit rough now too. There's always like, you worked at Vice for a while, right? And there's always a sort of like expansion, implosion cycle that repeats itself. And I think this is the third one that I've seen. So I think right now it's probably pretty hard to enter journalism, media. But that doesn't mean it's always going to be hard. There'll be a time in like 6 months to a year where suddenly there's more opportunities, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. When I entered the workforce, it was the late 90s. And have to be honest, every single job I applied for was like, how many words per minute can you type? So I don't think that's a thing anymore. But I think that when I was looking for jobs as a very young person, a lot of it was just like, here, you can interview to be a secretary. You can interview to be a secretary. They weren't like, even like the idea of an assistant now still kind of implies that you can learn something and go further. And I think that back when I got into the workforce, it was mostly like, you'll be a secretary, you're going to learn how to type, and here is like your opportunity to be the best secretary you can be. And secretaries are awesome, but that was not what I wanted for myself. So I think now there's probably there's a more expansive brain in corporate America about when women are coming in to interview, that it is not just for one specific job.
Mm-hmm. I also think one thing I would say is probably easier than when you and I were both entering the workforce is I feel like, and maybe I'm just saying this because I'm a millennial, but I feel like millennials are a little bit more empathetic and have a little bit more care as bosses than people who are in generations that came before. I think that some women, especially, I hate to say it, who are a little bit older tend to be like, I had to go through this, so you have to go through it too. And I just haven't experienced that when I've been working with millennial women, either in like who's been parallel to me or somebody who's been like my boss. I've never experienced having a boss that was close to my age that I didn't feel like had empathy for me.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true.
Okay, I'm going to pick a question. This is going to be a real favorite city outside the U.S.
Tokyo.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I'm gonna say I haven't spent much time there it's been a long time since I've been there, but Mexico City. Mexico City is a really it just feels very alive. It's a really, really it's a cool place to visit, and I kind of compare the vibes of it to like, I'm only saying this because it's like kind of old and the weather is like heavy and wet during the mornings. It kind of has like a little bit of New Orleans-y vibe, only because of the way that the air feels.
I can see that.
And there's the anthropological museum there is amazing. Cool. You want to pick another question?
I have one for you.
Okay.
Do you believe in aliens?
Yes, I do.
That's why I asked you.
I mean, I think I don't know. Look, if we were doing mushrooms together, I would talk about this a lot. I'm going to tell you. I think that there is life out there. I feel like there's no way that there's not, just like purely by the numbers. But I read this like super disturbing article maybe like 8 or 9 years ago that stuck with me. And then I watched a really disturbing TED Talk while I was like, I'd taken an edible, and so it just really like affected me. Anyway, the one article that I read was that some people are a little bit baffled by the fact that we haven't made contact with any form of intelligent life yet. And so the theory is that either the Earth is one of the first places in our immediate vicinity to develop life, or the last. So either we are just alone and like somewhere like everything else is TK, or we are floating in a giant space graveyard and we're the last ones. And that really fucked me up.
Yeah, seriously.
The other thing was this TED Talk where this guy said that intelligent life is evolving away from biology. And, you know, we're pouring more and more of ourselves into machines. Like we're seeing like the next evolution of people isn't biological, it's machine. So if we tried to contact intelligent life, there's a chance that we would just contact a machine.
Wait, can I just throw something out there?
Yeah.
Maybe when we get to our 300th episode, we should do it on mushrooms.
There's a chance it will be legal in California by then. There's dispensaries out here where you can buy it.
I know.
There's dispensaries. Oh, speaking of legalizing drugs, Minnesota is like, I want to give a shout out to Minnesota. Minnesota like flipped its state legislature and now they're doing all kinds of cool stuff. I think they're about to pass like a pretty good paid leave policy. They renamed a portion of a highway after Prince. They're making the roadsides purple. They're legalizing recreational marijuana for users 21 years of age or older. It's way to go. Way to go.
Keep it coming.
Yeah, indeed.